for joining us for NAVIG8 2022 here at Nearmap. We really appreciate you joining us for our conversation about holistic approach to Nearmap APIs. First, my name is Jason Theis. I'm part of the government CSM vertical, and then we also have Mike Hayes, and he is part of the commercial CSM vertical. And so with that, what are we actually going to be talking about today? Our agenda is going to be how to create API keys and applications. We're going to be covering the three-step process of creating the API app, the key, the services, which can be broken down into simple and custom. And then I'll go ahead and give you a quick example of how this looks in ArcGIS Online. And then last but not least, Mike will be covering where to find Tile API, DSM API, sample scripts, and the information therein. So with that, let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and select this, and whenever I select this, this will actually navigate you to your My account, or mine in this case. So once you select that link, or once I did, I was navigated to the dashboard on my account. And so you should be seeing something very similar on your side of things. And so with the dashboard, you can see that you have access to some basic information, along with some helpful links, along with product news, frequently asked questions, things of that nature. So this is a really useful resource for you. But here we're here to talk about the integration. So let's go ahead and select that in the top banner here. And so once we are here, let's go and review that three-step process. And you can see that we can create an API app here, API key here, and API services here. And so whenever I say create the API app, that means that you can come down here to this button that says create app and select. And from here, let's go ahead and just put in a meaningful name for the application name for today. So right now, we're going to go ahead and say NAVIG8 or API NAVIG8 2022. And if you have any IP restrictions or refer restrictions, this is where you can place them. For this example, I don't have that. And then you can select create. And from there, you can go ahead and go into the API keys and then create a key. But before you create the key, you need to be able to select the application that we just created. And so in this case, let's go ahead and navigate down to API NAVIG8 2022, select this, and then select create key. So we have this key created now, and it's matching the same name of the app. So API NAVIG8 2022. And from here, now that this is created, let's go ahead and make the service. And so remember whenever we were talking about the two different services that we have access to, the first being the simple API service, the second being the custom API service. Today, I'm going to discuss more about the custom API service for two main reasons. With the custom API service, you have the ability to geofence your specific region that you want to bring into your platform, AGL in this instance. And then with that, you can reduce the amount of lag time that your end users experience whenever they download the imagery, or whenever the imagery is uploaded to that platform, or AGL in this case. With a simple API service, this can be used, but you're bringing in all the imagery for North America, so your lag time is going to be pretty impressive here. So if you want to reduce your end users' lag time, I would recommend going with a custom API service. So with that, let's go ahead and create one. And so as you create one here, you have the ability to name your actual key. And so let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and give this a meaningful name that can be good for this example. And so let's go ahead and just stick with what we've been doing. API NAVIG8 2022 key. Select the apply checkmark, and then let's go ahead and add an area. And then with this, if you have a boundary file that's a GeoJSON file, you can actually upload it here, or you can navigate specifically to the region that you want to geofence. For this example, we're actually going to do Washington, D.C., just because everybody's familiar with that particular location, and it's going to be an easy one for us to find. So with that, let's go ahead and create a boundary file around the Abraham Lincoln Monument here, and then the corridor that's associated with that. And so whenever we're creating a boundary file here, all we need to do is select a location to put a node, and then put a boundary file or a boundary around that. And so with this, as you're selecting, you can click and drag, and then go ahead and make sure you have your entire area enclosed that you want to see, and then double click whenever you're finished. So this area will actually be populated in AGL once we actually bring in that WMS link. So at this point, let's go ahead and name this. And let's go say this is DC NAVIG8 2022. And then you'll also notice here on the side that we have a date range. I would recommend actually leaving these blank just because these date ranges are actually going to be constrict your ability to bring in different capture dates. So for example, if you put in today's date from the from date, you're not going to get anything before today's date. And likewise, if you put anything in, if you put today's date in the to date, you're not going to get any captures after today's date. And so if you leave this blank, you'll have the ability to bring in all of the imagery that Nearmap has captured for you. So with that, let's go ahead and select continue. And then we're done. And so at this point, select finish. And then to be able to get that link that you need to be able to bring this into your area is let's go ahead and find that service. So let's go ahead and type in API and then select copy. And then from here, you want to associate with the proper key. And for us, this is going to be API NAVIG8 2022. Select this, and you'll see that this is automatically copied to your clipboard. And just to do a sanity check to make sure that's actually there, go ahead and just put it in here. And you can see at the top of the page in your search bar that this is indeed on your clipboard. So from here, let's go ahead and navigate to AGUL, which I already have open, and I've already just created a blank map. And from here, all you need to do is, actually for this instance, I'm going to actually go into the classic view. I use this a little bit more, and I'm a little bit more familiar with it. And so in the classic view, let's go ahead and add that WMS layer or base map, depending on what you want to do. Today, we're going to just show you how to do the layer. And so with this, we're going to add layer from web. And then once you have this in here, go ahead and select the WMS OGC web service. Make sure you have the WMS, otherwise this won't work properly. And from here, let's go ahead and paste in that link that we had from before. And then a couple of different things to note at this point in the process is that you have the ability to have this as a base map, which is fine depending on your use case. If you have this as a base map, what you're going to be doing is bringing in the most recent image. And then you can see the historical imagery, but it's going to be harder to bring up. And so I recommend actually, if you want to be able to cycle through all the imagery that we have for that given region that you just geofenced, add it as a layer. And whenever I say add it as a layer, these are the layers that are going to be associated with that geofenced in area. And these are all the different captures that are associated with that specific region. And so with that, let's go ahead and add this to the map. So add layer. And then you'll see here momentarily, there it is, that's already populating here. So right now, what image are we actually seeing and what capture date is this from? So to answer that question, go ahead and go over to the left-hand side here under the contents, go to the Nearmap WMS server and hit that drop-down arrow. And so right now, we are looking at imagery from May 10th of 2022. Well, to answer your question of, okay, well, what if I want to see something else? Go ahead and deselect this. And then select another desirable date that you want to see, and then it'll automatically populate. And so with this, you can go ahead and cycle through a couple different images if you so desire, or use whatever is going to be the best for your use case. And so at this point, feel free to just zoom in. And so you'll actually notice here at this point that you have the same resolution as say you would have in the map browser, or if you're using it as your marketplace item, or using the simple custom or the simple API. And so with that, you have the ability to have this in a geofenced in area, so you don't have as much lag time, then you can go ahead and fly around in here. And so with that, let me go ahead and bow out and give Mike the floor so he can go over his section of this presentation. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jason. Yes, so you have the ability to add APIs into anything that has an API that would accepts an API. So once you've created your key, you should be able to add that into any tool that of your choosing. There's ArcGIS, there's QGIS, AutoCAD, all of these other tools will ingest this. If you're a Python person and have the ability to code, you can actually go into our Knowledge Hub and go into product documentation and then down to the Tile API. Down here, you're going to be able to learn just a little bit more about what APIs are and how the standards are. There are sample scripts in here so you can see the API URL format. So you can actually take this, copy it, and paste into your tool. And from here, you'll be able to get the API URL format that gives you the tiles, the resource type, and the lat long information, which will return that information for you. So you can see this here. This example lets you know that you can get the disaster excluding, disaster or fire. So this actually returns just fire disasters. If you were to scroll through, you can actually get more information through here. But further down, it gives you specified surveys and more examples. There are examples for both Australia and the US. With the DSM and True Ortho API, this guide will describe and how to use that API. What this will return back to you is a 200 meter by 200 meter bounding box. And in that, you'll be able to pull out a lot of information, our vertical and our digital surface modeling information. So how to use the API, you can actually find that here, get the coverage call, and the URL format. This is all found in our Nearmap docs page. So if you just go to docs.nearmap.com, you'll be able to find that here on this ribbon under Nearmap APIs. Thank you for taking the time to watch Jason and I today, covering a holistic approach to your APIs. If you have any additional questions, your customer success manager should be able to walk you through this. Additionally, we have solutions engineers that use this in applications and have done so in a real world experience. So feel free to reach out to us. Thanks.